Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of ChumChat. It's your boy Johan Gomez alongside my co-host Chris Kuchar, and today we have a very, very special guest.
Guys, we got Taylor Twellman on the pod today. U.S. Open Cup winner, Gold Cup winner, MLS MVP, MLS Golden Boot winner, multiple MLS Best 11. The list goes on and on. Taylor, how are you doing today, man?
How'd you guys lose a bet to have me on the podcast today?
I don't know. Johan, it was my idea. Johan was like, man, I don't want this guy on. He kept telling me, but
Johan was like, who?
Yeah, exactly. But, we worked it out. We had some technical difficulties. Shout out to Taylor, everybody, for persevering through us or with us. Just shows the quality guy he is. He didn't get as angry as he did in this, as he was for his U.S. men's national team rant whenever we didn't make it. So we're very appreciative of that.
Yes, we are. You guys didn't fail to qualify for the World Cup. We just couldn't get connected. That's all.
There we go. There are priorities, right? So, Johan, you want to start us out, or do you want to start with the rapid fire questions just to loosen things up a little bit?
Well, I wanted to loosen things up. First of all, obviously you're a Maryland legend. Congrats on getting inducted into the Maryland Hall of Fame. And we do have a connection there because back in 2018, my senior year of high school, I took an official to Maryland, and it was offered. So I met all the guys. I met Sasha, obviously. I'm sure you're very well connected with him. And that was actually the year they won the championship. They won it obviously later that year because I visited in preseason. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And obviously you're a legend there. So
yeah, Sasha's built one hell of a program. There was a class, the senior class when I visited was the Leo Cullen, who was the number one draft pick in MLS with the Miami Fusion. It was that generation that kind of kickstarted Sasha stepping into, the next level for University of Maryland. And then it was my class that took four freshmen. Our freshman year, we went to the Final Four. But it was then after that, Johan, that I think Sasha took the next step. Graham Zuzi, Omar Gonzalez, Maurice Adu, Jason Gary, Abe Thompson. You can go up and down the line, the quality of players that have been there, the goalkeepers and Chris Seitz and Zach McMath. And you just go up and down the line. There's been so many good players. But it was our generation that kind of got Maryland back into it with recruits going there and all that. So it was pretty cool to be recognized, even though I was only there for 2 semesters.
No, yeah. I mean, you did great. After the 2 semesters, I read up a little bit. I did my research. So you went to 1860 Munich for a little while. And then you came to the MLS, which is kind of the opposite decision as what most players are making nowadays. Can you talk about your spell there a little bit and what ultimately led you back to the MLS? What led you there in the first place?
Yeah, it's interesting, Chris. The Under-20 World Cup was in 1999, and I left Maryland. I actually went to Maryland on a baseball scholarship. Excuse me. So I had to make a real difficult decision to redshirt my freshman year baseball and go try and play in the World Cup, Under-20 World Cup with the U.S. And so I ended up doing that. And then I became the first American to win a goal scoring boot of some sort, right? Mm-hmm. So I scored 4 goals, and that led to a decision. Do I go to Brøndby in Denmark? Do I go to 1860 Munich in Germany? Or do I go back to Maryland my sophomore year? And I actually went back to Maryland, did my sophomore season, and then at the end of that season, the same 2 clubs were interested. I hadn't turned 20 yet, so I was right in that, perfect time to believe in development and all that. So this was a long time ago. This is right after the 98 World Cup when every American player was viewed as not being good enough to play in Europe. Landon Donovan, Frankie Haydick were at Bayer Leverkusen playing in the 4th division, And so the only American that was playing in and out regularly was Steve Cherundolo, and he was only in his 2nd season at Hannover 96. So it was an interesting decision. It was the right one. I ended up coming back to Major League Soccer because September 11th happened. And not to bore your listeners, but we were the only team in Western Europe that did not wear black armbands that first game back after September 11th, and I lost my shit. Wow. I was so flabbergasted. I was only 19. I was 21 at the time. And I was just so pissed off. But the owner was East German. The head coach was East German. The technical director was East German. And so it just was one of those where I was like, you know what, man, I'm out. So in a weird way, I had two choices. I could have gone to Kaiserslautern, which was in the Bundesliga at the time, and they have that huge American Army base that is really close by to Kaiserslautern. We ended up playing a U.S. game there against Poland later on in my career. And so I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll go there. And 1860 was like, no, you're not going anywhere in Germany. So really my option was to go back to MLS. And it was the great decision. I got to see my family more. My family got to see me. And you guys know me well enough. I bleed red, white, and blue. So it was nice after that. I just felt disrespected. I remember talking to so many players over there. I was like, wait a minute, we're the only team not wearing a black armband? What the hell is this?
Yeah, when everybody's doing one thing and then you do the opposite and purposefully go against the grain, that makes it seem a lot more intentional than if just nobody did it. You know what I mean? So no.
Yeah, and quite honestly, if the internet was what it is now, you guys would have, everyone in the world would have known about it in 5 minutes, but it wasn't. So there was no stories, there was no social media, there was nothing to talk about, just word of mouth, right? So they could kind of like cover it up, so to speak. So anyways, that's the shortest version of that story of how I ended up in New England.
Football is back, and BET Online remains your #1 source for all of your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BET Online features live betting, free contests, live scores, and all sorts of giveaways all season long.
It's always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports teams and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. You know the Chums are the best at golf. But anyway, head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BT Online, where the game starts.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, people can criticize social media what they want, however much they want, but having that accountability there now definitely keeps people more mindful of their decisions. So you talked about your you were a baseball player, right? Wasn't your grandfather a professional baseball player as well?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how close you guys were. How hard was it to break it to him that you decided to go the other way?
He honestly had no opinions because so he turned pro when he was 16. He left he was a farm boy in Wisconsin, left and played 19 years professional baseball, 11 in the majors. And I had never done a full year of baseball, Chris. So I had never lifted a weight. I had never dedicated myself to full baseball. And on the other hand, I never dedicated myself to full-on soccer. So when the New York Mets, Kansas City Royals, and St. Louis Cardinals asked me for a private workout, I just wanted to do it to see what it was. And I had a blinder, as they would say. I had a day where I was like, oh, they're going to make me an offer. And we sat down after the workout. Literally, it was an hour workout. I was exhausted. My arm was going to fall off. They had me running. It was the coolest experience ever. Wooden bats, shiny helmets, the whole 9 yards, right? So I loved it. And they asked me right there, we want to sign you right now. You leave, you go to a single A ball, rookie ball, an instructional league, and we get you into the process. And I said, well, can I play my freshman year at Maryland? And they said no. And right then I said, I can't make that decision yet. And so in a weird way, that day, which ended up being the last day I would ever play baseball again, because I go to Maryland, fall season. So anyways, my grandfather didn't give a rat's ass. He just knew, as long as he knew that one way or the other, I was going to try to play one of them. And he always said, listen, the one you have the most fun with and you enjoy the most will show itself. And ironically, that day it did, because I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to have to give up soccer and baseball at Maryland. And so in a way that I didn't mean it, I kind of chose soccer that day, if that makes any sense.
No, that's all. So you said you didn't even play that much baseball leading up to that?
I just didn't play a full season. You know, every baseball player at the highest level, they lifted weights.
Yeah.
They did winter ball. I didn't do that. I was playing soccer. And then when soccer wasn't going on, I was playing baseball. And all the soccer players were playing soccer year round. So I never played either sport year round. So I didn't really know what either one was potential. I never lifted a weight, guys, until honestly freshman year of college. So, hey, I'll never know, Johan and Chris, what baseball would have been like, because truthfully, you need to lift weights for baseball type of activities. But I couldn't get that strong because I needed to be able to run 4 to 6 miles in a soccer game. So it was a unique experience. I don't regret 1 second of it, but I do wonder, it's not a regret, but I do wonder what baseball would have been like if I actually dedicated myself to it.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. Because I feel like both sports are so different. I feel like, I mean, not that you would have been overweight, but you see like overweight baseball players that are successful, and soccer is completely opposite. You can't be out of shape at all. Do you think you were as passionate about baseball as you are about soccer? Obviously, you ended up making the right decision, but would you say that you're just as passionate about both sports, or were you at that time?
It's a great question, Johan, because honestly, my favorite sport growing up was basketball. And then sophomore year of high school, I got dunked on by a player by the name of Larry Hughes that ended up playing 15 plus years in the NBA. And I realized I was out of my depth. I didn't belong on a basketball court. I thought I was going to be the next Steve Nash, whatever it may be, right? And then I played against Larry Hughes, who was in the same position as me on the opposite side of the court. He was 6'5". He was shooting from half court, and he was dunking left and right. And I was like, I can't play basketball anymore. So sophomore year of high school, I was like, I got to give this up. My passion was always there, but there was always this small part of me that just loved soccer, game day, and the ability to score goals in an environment where everyone hates you. I absolutely was addicted to that. And so when I thought about giving that up, honestly, to this day, I describe scoring goals to people as there's nothing better than scoring a goal in an away game when everyone can't stand you. There's something so sweet about how quiet it gets and being booed. There was always something about that. I was like, I don't know if I want to give that up.
Johan, tell them the story real quick about your derby and your goal, just real quick, just so you can relate with that.
So Taylor, I play in the 3rd division of Germany right now, and I'm very familiar with Kaiserslautern 1860 Munich. My first goal in Germany last year was actually against 1860, so that was special. Awesome. But so this year we played a derby. A team came down from the 2nd league, and I play in East Germany also. It's a big, you know how they get in East Germany. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
I ended up scoring the winner 1-0, and I guess in the heat of the moment, I ended up just opening my arms in front of their fans and just standing there. And they were throwing things at me. I think a couple of them jumped on the pitch and tried to chase me. And anyway, I got interviewed after the game. Long story short, like this drunk guy like hopped over the fence, like tried to like punch me while I was doing my interview. So I know 100% what you mean. Like there's no better feeling than that like adrenaline rush when you score in front of people that hate you.
Johan, what town are you in?
I'm in Zwickau. It's by Leipzig.
Okay. Yeah, I know where it is.
So that's where I'm at right now, and yeah, it's very, very East Germany, but I can relate to definitely you in a sense.
Yeah, you are right into the thick
I'm in the thick of it, man. I'm in the thick of it. Yeah. But no, I know what you mean, and transitioning a little bit back over to your career, Chris, was just telling me now. He could probably tell you better, but he was watching. I think a goal you scored actually where unfortunately you ended up getting a concussion. I think. He says that you end up, I don't know if that was an away game, but you ended up running to the corner and just celebrating still passionately, probably super woozy. And he said it was badass.
It was the most badass. Look, hey, it sucks to go out, but if you have to have any way to go out, it's kind of a badass way to go out in a way.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, in all seriousness, listen, do I regret scoring the goal? No. Do I regret celebrating? No. Do you watch what I say to Shalry Joseph right afterwards? I tell him right away I have a concussion.
You mouthed it.
I played the next 8 weeks. I didn't come out of that game. And so I don't regret anything about that other than not getting out of that game. And who knows what the career would have been. Right now, I'll tell both of you, there was a reason why that happened. Way above me, way above the energy in this world. I was meant to lose my career in that moment because the ability to further educate those in all sports about the seriousness about traumatic injury in sports. The one thing that drives me nuts is people literally want to go from 0 to 100 and say we can't play sports anymore. No. That's not what we're doing here. What we need to do is properly assess, evolve, and educate. Because guys, I'm in Boston, Mass. You could argue it's the medical capital of the United States. If I can't get treatment as MVP of MLS in 2008, then what's anyone else going to do now? So, yeah, is it a badass way? Sure. Do I wish it kind of not happened? Sure. But in a weird way, it's turned me who I am today. And Johan, Chris will tell you, I'll be remembered way more for that than any goal I've ever scored. And so that's my story.
One of the first things you find when you look you up, although you've had a great career, is ThinkTaylor Foundation, right?
Yep.
And that you're donating your brain to science whenever you pass. Things like that is what people are almost knowing you more for in today's day and age. And the good thing about, not the good thing about it per se, but it's a widespread problem, right? It's not just soccer specific, and you can definitely touch a lot more people focusing on a broader topic than something that's super specific.
Chris, when we're all playing, and I'm not, Johan's still playing, and he's in the heartbeat of the real positive part of his career. So, but we all think as players that the most important thing you do is what game you won, what goal you scored, how much money you make. Right. And of course, it's your career. You got to make the most of it, Johan. Right. But when you really sit back and look at it, what are you going to be remembered for? I promise you, I've been retired for 12 years, 13 years. Nobody even remembers me playing. But if you Google me, the top 17 videos is the concussion goal. It's me on 60 Minutes or Sports Center or outside the lines, whatever it is, educating about the injury. And so I just never realized I was 28. I was on the verge of going to the 2010 World Cup, like doing all of these things. And you sit there and you're like, oh my God. But now I reflect on it, I go, whoa. This is what it was supposed to be. So in a weird way, the worst injury that I'm telling you that can ever happen, because you don't have a cast on, nobody knows how you feel. It's honestly given me the greatest gift, because I can leave a legacy and do something with what my career was, and nobody will know it was about goals. It's about literally doing the right thing in the moment. And so in an odd way, Chris, you're right. It is a good thing, because it's been my blessing and it's kind of been my message.
Yeah, 100%.
That is a huge blessing. And I think, like you said, you found, your purpose, and you're affecting so many people positively. And this is not a question that we came up with. It's a question that we got from our viewers, but you already touched on it a little bit. But now that you feel that everything happened for a reason per se, do you have any regrets during your career, besides maybe that you didn't come out in that game?
Yeah, honestly, John, that's the only one. I mean, if I come out and make the right decision, or the medical professionals that day get me out of my own way, because if that goal tells you guys anything about me, I put my body, and I put my head, and I put a lot of things on the line when I probably didn't need to. Yeah. And so you needed to protect me from myself. So that's one that day. But I don't go to bed at night with real angst towards those people. I don't go with any regrets. It happened. It happened for a reason. Unfortunately, I'm that person. But so what? I can educate those. Johan, if I had to answer your question, because I'm not one to sit on the fence in this job, so let me give you a real answer. I didn't play for the United States in a men's World Cup, full national team. I played in the under-17 World Cup. I played in the under-20s, but I didn't play in that full one. And so 2006, 2010, that will be always something that I wish would have happened, right? Because there was not a greater privilege in life than to represent your country. And I would have helped those teams in 06 and 10. But that's kind of my story. That's where it is. And so, but if I had to answer your question of something that still leaves me like, God damn it, it's that one. I wish I would have represented the full team at a World Cup.
Definitely. Well, happiness is a weird thing though, right? It's all about your perspective towards it. And I think one of the biggest keys to happiness, although I'm young, is taking bad things and finding a positive in them. And you've clearly done a very good job of doing that. Speaking of, just a side thing, I know there's a soccer podcast, but how upset were you with, I don't know if you saw the whole Tua.
Oh, I did.
How pissed were you?
It's disturbing, because here we are. You guys are interviewing me and we're talking 2022.
Yeah.
My stuff happened in 2008. 2014 World Cup final. You probably don't remember, but Christoph Kramer literally got a concussion for Germany, and Bastian Schweinsteiger asked him, "Where are you?" He said Germany, and he said the score was 2-2, and they didn't take him off the field. And that was 6 years after mine, and here we are 8 years after that, and we're still making dumb decisions. Here's the reason why I'm so passionate about it. It's science. It's not my opinion. It's called second impact syndrome. If you get hit after the first one and you haven't fully healed, you die. You have a brain bleed. And the fact that Tua and Miami Dolphins and their head coach tried to tell us it was a back injury against the Buffalo Bills, then 4 nights later do it against the Bengals and have he had the fencing reaction. His arms went. It's mind-boggling. We're still doing that in 2022. Honestly.
It was sad to watch, but like I said, even though there's bad things, we can find a positive in it. Even though there's still a bunch of atrocities, I think the strides that we've made in the last 20 years, concussion-wise, is overall a positive compared to the likes of what's before. I'm a rewind back a little bit. We talked about beginning of the career, end of career. So we were talking about regrets. I want to see where your mindset was. So after your MVP season in 2005, a Norwegian team made a large bid for you, rejected by the MLS. 2008, Preston North End made 3 separate offers for you, all rejected. It would have been the highest or the second highest MLS transfer fee to date. What were your thoughts on this in the moment? And then what are your thoughts now, just looking back on it?
My thoughts in the moment are the same as they are now, right? First off, it's a business. I completely understand it. The Kraft family, led by Sunil Gulati, didn't want to sell me. No problem. I understand that part of it. I get it. The issue I have is they did not redo my contract. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. And the Kraft family said to me, "We will pay you when your world market shows itself." Chris, you just said it. Second largest transfer fee for an American. And yet I was the 8th highest paid player in the league outside of a designated player. So David Beckham was in the league. Sure, I'm not asking to be paid. Dave Beckham's contract was so absurd. I'm not even.
I thought you were better, but
but in all seriousness, I was looking at it saying, "Wait a minute here." That was my biggest frustration. That's the one now. I will say this on the record and have multiple times. MLS in 2022 does not operate the same way it did in 2007. And part of that is because they saw what happened. The next year, my career ended. Think about it, right? So you can't, they didn't handle it the right way. I was flattered. I will always wonder what it would have been like to play in England because my style of game fit perfectly for England, whether it was the championship or lower Premier League. It just fit over there. And that team, Preston North End, Johan wasn't even born yet, and neither were you, Chris, to be honest with you. But
35.
Eddie Lewis, Joe Max Moore, Brian McBride, everybody that had real success going to England back in the day went through the Preston North End way.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting, right? So, they would go there. So, Joe Max Moore, former teammate of mine, had told a lot of people, there's a kid in New England. He's young. He can score goals. He fits perfect for that. But I couldn't get a permit until I played 75% of the national team games. And Bob Bradley in 2007 said, "I'm going to give you a full slate of games." The moment I got a permit, I had a call from Newcastle. I had a call from Brøndby again, which is interesting, even though I was older at that point. And then Preston North End. And Preston North End 3 times was like, "Listen, you're going to come here. We're going to play you for a full season. If you do well, we're going to move you right to Everton." So it was almost like identical to what they did with those 3. So it didn't work out. It's unfortunate. It's not a huge regret. I just will always, always, always question why the Revolution at the time said, "Wait a minute here. We're not going to redo your deal, but we're also going to say no to you quadrupling your salary." I was like, that doesn't, that's not how the real world works. But
definitely
to each his own, because now MLS is better for that story.
100%.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I would say you played a huge part in progressing the MLS. I mean, I wouldn't dismiss what you said earlier about me not knowing. I just remember this actually. I had a poster forever in my room about, I don't remember where I got it, but it was like the stars of MLS. And I remember Cuauhtemoc Blanco was on there, David
Yes.
Beckham, Dwayne De Rosario, and you were on there. So I've known you for a while since I was a kid. So just to dismiss that, you've definitely
You just
progressed
dated me,
MLS.
Johan. I'm going to punch you in the face if you weren't in East Germany right now.
But anyway, you're very educated on MLS. You're always commenting on it and stuff like that. We did get a couple questions about it. Do you have a favorite U20 American now in MLS that you think has like a high ceiling or maybe the next one to make that jump?
That's a great question. And what's interesting about this is I'm way more intrigued now. It's not much different. So let me answer your question one way. So there's more attention to the younger American player now because of what Christian Pulisic started. Okay? That's a fact. But people forget my under-20 team, there was only 2 pros on the team. Steve Cherundolo and Tim Howard. And yet nobody talks about that, right? 2 of the greatest Americans, both are going to be Hall of Famers, right? So you look at that, okay, that's that. Then we had 5 other World Cup players on that team, but they were all college players. The difference now, Johan, is that when I watch the 20s, and quite honestly, when I talk to the scouts, particularly where you are in Germany, they list like 12 to 14 players. And that's just within their first page. But they can then go to these MLS academies now. The scouting network is so much more in depth about the American player because they believe the sooner they get their hands on the players, the better likelihood it is that they can translate to the Bundesliga level before they're 21. And now they're starting to see what MLS clubs are doing with a guy like a Tyler Adams, right, who did the Red Bull way and then came over. I don't have one because I could probably list 10 of them right now. But the truth is, I believe there's about 5 or 6 that are going to be legitimate pros. And I think that's the coolest part about the story because, yeah, there were 5, 6, maybe 7 legitimate pros on our 20s, but it took us a while to get to the national team. Johan, this is real turnkey. It's real quickly becoming an influential part of this development. And that's why when I watch the 20s, I'm like, God damn it. Like I'm not going to pinpoint one of them because if you would ask me back in the day, I would have told you Haji Wright. And I would have said Haji Wright is exponentially going to be the greatest one. And there was a little kid playing on the right wing named Christian Pulisic at the time.
Yeah, it's impossible to predict these things nowadays. Obviously, there's, like you said, academies are so much better now, which leads me to my next question. Thoughts on the New England Academy now, and who do you think is the best academy at the moment in MLS?
That's a good one. I mean, naturally, everyone wants to say that it is FC Dallas, right? Because of just what their turnover is, but that's also where the market is. I think the best academies are the ones that maximize what they have. FC Dallas should be in that conversation. Make no mistake about it. But when you look at New England, right, they don't have the same pool of players that Dallas does, or that even the Red Bulls or New York City do, right? So it's those. I think Sporting Kansas City has an unbelievable infrastructure there.
Yeah.
What do they turn that into? I'm not going to say there's a better academy over the other one because I think the pool dictates the recognition you get, but I also think what the owners are putting into these academies are very interesting. You know, I feel for the Portland Timbers are the Minnesota Uniteds of the world because they've got to really dig deep and find players within their market and turn them over. So the new, homegrown rules and what that's going to look like, I think is going to be very interesting. But I'm amazed at how quickly the academies are turning players over. And keep an eye on St. Louis City. I grew up there, but when you look at the amount of high-level professional players that come out of St. Louis, Josh Sargent being the most recent one, Tim Ream being another one that he should go to the World Cup.
Agreed.
St. Louis just innately breeds professional soccer players. Now what happens when there's a real academy there that can show you and showcase those players maybe at 16, 17 in MLS? It's going to be interesting. Aaron Hurd is there. I'd be shocked if he ends up not in Germany over the next year or so. So it's an interesting academy to keep an eye on.
It's a good answer. And like you said, there are a lot of different academies popping up. One that doesn't get recognition is the Crew, who, for example, just won MLS Next Pro, the inaugural season. But you mentioned Tim Ream, actually, who you think should get a World Cup shout. Going into the World Cup, do you anticipate any surprise call-ups?
I don't. And it's hard for me to do it. First off, do I agree with it? No. But I don't, and to each his own. And the manager's going to look at it, and he believes the system is the strength of this team, and he doesn't want to introduce anyone that hasn't been within the system. Where I disagree with it a little bit is a Brandon Vasquez. You got 26 players on a roster, different than 23 when I was playing, and because of COVID, they're bringing 26. You got a couple wild cards there. I'm going with a hot hand. Well, at least one of them is going to be a hot hand scorer. Brandon Vasquez is an absolute horse. What he has done with FC Cincinnati, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. His hold-up play has improved. His runs are become smarter. I just look at it and say, wait a minute. And then you're going to double down and maybe not bring P-Folk as well. So, Johan, that's an interesting conversation. I struggle with it. But I don't think there's going to be any surprise call-ups. And when you've got Tim Ream, who, by the way, his national team career has been lackluster at best. That's the honest-to-God truth. However, right now, in the moment, he's playing in the best league in the world regularly for a top 10 team in the Premier League. And the left back next to him is his teammate with the national team. Just naturally, I'd be like, wait a minute, I think he needs to go, especially when Chris Richards is injured. Who knows what you're getting out of him? Aaron Long hasn't looked right. Miles Robinson's out with an Achilles. Johan, I think, maybe if Tim Ream goes, maybe people will classify that as a surprise. But in my mind, I'd be like, it's not really that big of a surprise. I don't see any surprise call-ups, but boy, with the way social media is, I'll be shocked when that roster's announced that there isn't controversy.
Definitely. And like I said, there's always positives and negatives, right? And although I am 100% in agreement with you that Tim Ream should be on that squad, the fact that we're at a point as a nation now to where players of his caliber can even be discussed whether they're on or off the squad really serves testament to how far we've come. The fact that we have so many class players who still aren't able to make the jump, I think, is overall just it's a good sign that we're moving in the right direction.
It totally is, Chris. On the other hand, I remind you guys, I was MVP of the league in 2005, and I didn't get picked to go to the 2006, right? So there's always going to be depth. I just think this generation is younger. Mm-hmm. I think this generation is a little bit more on the level of having ambition at the highest clubs in the world, Chris. So I think it leads to a further discussion. But I also think the expectations for this group of players is completely out of whack. Completely out of whack.
Definitely.
Because I still think it's going to be a struggle to get out of the group.
I agree.
And the fact that we could walk the streets of Boston right now, and I guarantee you people would see me and ask me, are we going to win the World Cup? And you're like, are we going to get out of our group? Yeah. So just because you got players playing at the highest level, that's step one. But now you got to have two players at each position playing at the highest level and playing regularly. And that's where the debate and I think misled level of expectation is.
Alrighty, guys, we're going to go ahead and get to the segment that I know most people love best. It's the easiest clippable one. It's how we can get some clickbait and views to our video. So we're going to go ahead and do our rapid fire questions. Taylor, just so you know what this is, we just have 20 questions, completely random.
I'm so nervous.
Yeah, I know. You're not a trained professional. We're just gonna throw them at you, answer them as quickly as possible. I know so far, Paxton Aronson has the best time. I don't know what that is exactly, but
this is time, by the way. So
up on the screen.
Oh, so wait a minute. So is it one word answers, or do you want answers? Because
give answers.
But no elaboration.
It's not one word answers, but give an answer, but try to make it quick. So you can't really think about
Paxton's quicker than me anyway, so I get it.
All right, man. All right, I'm gonna go right now. All right. Start the timer. Who was your favorite player growing up?
Alan Shearer.
Favorite current U.S. men's national team player?
Tyler Adams.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Jalen Rose.
Who will win, USA or England?
USA. Miss me with the England crap.
Favorite U.S. city?
Oh, that's a tough one. Scottsdale.
Messi or Ronaldo?
I'm going to lose street cred with any answer here. Messi.
There you go. Who do you spend the most time with?
Other than myself, my family.
There you go. Favorite non-soccer sports team?
St. Louis Cardinals.
All right. In your prime, are you on the plane to Qatar?
Yes.
Boom.
But you didn't ask me for what? You didn't ask me if I was playing or broadcasting or coaching or whatever. But the answer is yes.
Starting 11.
Yeah. No, I was never in the starting 11 at any point in my national team career, so I'm definitely not on this team.
It can be debated if you deserve that or not. Okay. Would you rather have 3 own goals and tie 3-3 or score a hat trick and lose 4-3?
Hat trick, lose 4-3.
He's sacrificing the point. Alrighty. Hardest defender.
First off, I don't care. It's not about the point. It's about me. Oh, you're going to put me on the spot.
Hardest defender you've ever played against.
Ryan Nelson in his heyday was legit, and obviously my body hurt afterwards, but I'm going to say Carlos Puyol.
There you go. Apple Music or Spotify?
Apple Music.
Biggest pet peeve?
Oh, wow. How long did we have? Those that speak in third person.
There you go. Start celebrating Christmas before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving?
After Thanksgiving. Dear Lord, people are lunatics.
I just want to make sure you weren't crazy, right? Some
Yeah.
people do
Well, I
Halloween.
am crazy, but for different ways.
There you go. A non-footballer that you would like to have as a teammate.
Julian Edelman.
Start, bench, and cut. Donovan, Dempsey, and Pulisic.
Start, bench, and cut. Start Dempsey. Bench Donovan. Cut Pulisic. And the only reason why I'm saying that is guess what, Christian? The older guys rule.
There you go. There you go. How much do you pay your barber?
$12.99, but that's without tips. So at least $13.
1 cent. Gotcha. A generous man. Your golf handicap.
I'm not revealing that publicly, but let's just say it is it's a plus.
Alrighty. Mysterious. Favorite coach you've ever played for?
Good question. Good question. Steve Nicol.
There you go. Alrighty, everybody. And that was 20 questions with Taylor Twellman. Time might be a little low, but man, those answers were very, very legit. Very legit.
Let's go. So this is our go-to questions, our slogan, success defined, defining success. You're obviously a person who's achieved success in multiple different fields. So, I mean, you're the best person to ask. What's your definition of success, and do you think you've achieved it yet?
Johan, that is a really, really good question. And I think you could have success every single day. I think success is defined in the eye of the beholder. So quite honestly, yeah, you're asking me right now, you're talking to me. It's a gorgeous day. I've done a lot of stuff. I'm ending it with you guys in this podcast, meeting you guys. So it all depends on how you look at success. Some people look at it by materialistically and what you have. I've always been one that says, if I'm not smiling more than how much money's in my wallet, then truthfully, when we die, I'm not taking anything in my wallet. I'm going to take experiences with me. But I'm going to leave everyone with this quote. Everyone says and has told me my entire life that adversity builds character. And I'm going to call bullshit. I think adversity reveals character. And the one thing I would tell anyone is anyone can be a front runner. Anyone can. Anyone could be scoring a ton of goals or having 1 million podcast downloads and all of that. But you're not getting there and you're not defining success if you don't get through the weeds, if you don't get through the force, and if you don't dig deep, roll up your sleeves and get there. And so for me, at this point in my life, adversity doesn't build character. Miss me with that. Adversity reveals it, because the ones that I want to be around is when the tough gets really difficult. I want to be with people that have got their head down and ready to plow through. So I tell everyone that's listening to this, and I mean this because this is how I live my life. Adversity reveals character. Surround yourself with those that want to get through the real tough times along your side and then celebrate at the end, because life is going to be a little bit more rewarding than it is when you're in the front.
Boom. Well, you have me feeling like I want to go run through a wall right now. So I definitely.
No, those are wise words.
That's good.
Just wear a helmet.
We'll do.
Wear your helmet. Wise words, Taylor. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. We had our fair share of adversity today to get to make this work, and you're a busy man, so we really appreciate it. Yeah, this is a banger of an episode. We really appreciate you so much. The last question is, we ask everyone, who would you like to see next on ChumChat?
Oh, that's a good one. What would be the best guest for you guys to have? Who would be it? Who would be your go-to?
CP10 right now.
Okay.
So Are you recommending Pulisic to us?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell Christian, and then he'll ignore me like he always does.
Sounds good. We appreciate you, Taylor, so much. Thank you for your time.
See you guys. ChumChat. Success defined.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Taylor Twellman for you guys. Anthony, our amazing editor, will have his Instagram, his Twitter popped up. His Instagram throughout the video. His Twitter will be in the bio down below. Yeah, we haven't talked about this in a while, but I think we still have some winter merch. Cold months are coming. So if you guys want to check that out, the link is in the description for any new listeners who want to rep ChumChat. We appreciate you guys so much. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was hard. Taylor has a time crunch of his schedule. There were some questions that we had from you guys that we didn't get to ask, but we hope you guys still enjoyed it. And hey, who knows? I'm sure he'll be down for a part 2. So we'll answer these questions that didn't get asked next time. So, Chris, you have anything to say before we sign off?
If you guys like this episode, man, leave a comment. Let us know who you want next. Obviously, Taylor was a phenomenal guest. We know Anthony's going to have his hands full editing this episode. There's so much gems dropped. But yeah, we appreciate you guys watching every single day, and we're really fighting our hardest to get bigger and bigger and guests on the pod. So don't go anywhere. Stay in your seats.
Stay in your seats. And like Taylor told us, hey, we don't have to get the biggest footballers out there. We might expand into something else. Guys like Taylor Twellman give the best content. So even though they might not be currently in the game, so we're definitely looking to expand. So if you guys want anyone, let us know in our DMs or in our comments or whatever it may be. But we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Share it with your friends if you guys mess with it. And as we always say, go find your success. Deuces.